Hi, I'm Metta Spencer, and we're going to have a conversation today about the world, and I love the theme. The theme is the world is my country, and we're going to talk to Arthur Kanegis, who has an organization with that title, The World is My Country, and he puts on a regular weekly conversation. People can join in on Zoom, sort of this way, except there's even more open, and talk about whatever the theme is for the day. And they call it "The World Is My Country Club." At least that's what I saw at one point. I thought that's so cute. Anyway, I love the idea of the world being my country club. And and he's in Baja California, which is actually not California at all. It's Mexico. It's that little peninsula or big peninsula that comes down from California. And he's been living there, he tells me, for 20 years. And his assistant or friend or partner or colleague or something.
Yeah, our producer on the program, on the podcast, and on the movie we made. Yes.
Okay. Melanie Bennett.
I'd like to have Melanie go first because she's going to have to run. But I would just like to say, kind of an introduction to her, that one of the key things that we've been working on in developing what we call the people-powered planet, and which grows out of the movie we made called "The World Is My Country" about the amazing world citizen number one, Gary Davis. But one of the key parts of that, as you can see in this little poster, is it's kind of a partnership society of people, all diverse people, and we see a world going in the opposite direction. So I'd like to give Melanie a few minutes, if you don't mind, to open it up with some of her thoughts about what's happening to us in this time, why people are feeling the way they are, and what she thinks might uplift us.
So, Melanie, you have the floor, dear.
I just want to say that this is, yes, absolutely. Some people are calling this a scary time. It's a tumultuous time. It's a time of change. And I would want to put it to people that, change can be difficult, but this is the way we're going to get to a partnership society. And that basically is where people are on the same level. It's a type of society that was in effect years ago, 10,000 years and plus, where basically you are together as a group and surviving as a group. So everyone has basically the same rights, and it's not hierarchical, basically. It's just the opposite. So you have this spectrum of partnership and hierarchical, and most cultures fit on that somewhere. And what you want to move towards is the partnership society, where it's better for men, women, all the genders. And so I'm excited about the new things going on, the people doing incredible things. And I think it's important for people to remember that, and I think this will make sense to most people, that most people don't like war, and most people want people to have rights and be healthy, and you're safer when you go to a place, you don't feel nervous about your purse or whatever. It's because everyone has what they need, and so you're safer, everybody's happy. I think most people would like a world or to live in that type of atmosphere, and that you can call it the centrist, where we come together, left and right coming together, where we want a nice world for our children. And that's what we're working towards. And I'm excited to be able to spread the word about partnership, where we had Dr. Rian Eisler on our podcast twice. She's an incredible person who did the chalice and the blade and brought this up, and the historical evidence of this, and the fact that that's a very hopeful thing to think, that there are other systems rather than what we have, and we have to just deal with what we have. We can make new systems, go back to an older system that worked better, and there's lots and lots of examples all throughout the world of things that are working better that we can learn from. And so my last thing is to say that the current blast of we're going to do this and take away that and take away that, and is purposeful. It's made to make you feel unbalanced. It's made to make you afraid. It's made to make you feel small and not feel like you could do anything. That is why it's so important that people watch our film, The World is My Country, about Gary Davis, world citizen #1, and how we all have power. We have people power, and you don't lose it unless you give it away. Even in the most dire situation, you still have power. And I can cite examples of that. But anyway, the point is not to lose hope. Know that gathering together in community and more people together makes things easier to happen. And so we're in this together. We're in the center, getting everyone together for this beautiful future that we're going to have.
I don't know what to say, because you sound so optimistic and so, well, I don't want to say that I'm not, but I guess I'm not. I'm not very optimistic. So I love the notion that you think that this is somehow a stepping stone on the path toward equality and partnership and so on. And tell me, do you have a game plan of how to, maybe not a complete game plan, but what is your part in the business of moving us past this, what I consider quite a dangerous and threatening period?
Yeah, you can think of the time in Germany, when you had the Nazis. That seemed pretty dire. There's plenty of times in history where things looked really dire and not good at all, hopeless, and people gave away their power. Oh, I can't do anything for those other people. I'll just think of myself. I'll just grab what I can, survive myself. You're in survival mode, fear. And then it came out of it. And then how would you feel as a person if during that dark time, you didn't help us get to the light? In other words, you were not holding someone's hand and saying, I'm going to help you get to the light with me. How would you feel after we come to the light? It's almost like you don't want to be left behind in getting to the good. And one thing one partner that we have now is the Founding Mothers. You can go to their website. It's foundingmothers.world. And basically it's getting 4 main big groups of people, massive people in these groups. There's the environmental groups, the spiritual groups, the women's groups, and the peace groups all getting together, all the people in those groups all getting together for just 2 things: no more war and gender equality for everyone. And so that's just an example of the momentum now of people gathering. There was just people gathering in San Diego just Sunday. And so, yes.
Tell me about that, because I don't know anything about that.
Well, I just saw it in the newspaper. I didn't get it on my social media. I'm like, I wanted to be there. And I know a lot of people would have wanted to be there, but it was all through social media, nobody in charge, gathering together. We're not okay with this. And that's important. It's important to speak up, say you're not okay with this. Don't fall into survival mode, because you're going to be very disappointed with yourself when things look great. You'll be like, oh, why was I the one who helped out doing the bad thing? So, so foundingmothers.world.
When I say that I'm not optimistic, that's not the same as saying that I am not, that I give up, because I don't need to nurture myself with hope. Most people say you need hope in order to be motivated to survive and keep going. And I think that may be true of some people, but for me, it's more like duty. If I think I have an assignment, that I don't know whether the good Lord gives these assignments or where they come from, but I have a sense that I have a mission or an assignment that this is what I'm here for. And I'm pretty clear about what I'm supposed to be doing. And as long as I keep, I'll keep doing it, even if I think it's not the signs are not good, that it will, in any short term, succeed. And that's the way I feel now. I think, I guess I think we're in for a bad time. But we got to do what we're supposed to do. It's that way.
I
Does
love
that
that.
make sense to you?
That's perfect, because you are here, you have a calling, you have a mission, you have something you in your heart you want to do, and you're doing it. That I wish that for everyone. I think people should have the right to do what they're supposed to do here. And as far as accomplishing what you're here to do, thinking, well, it's a hard, dark time. Remember, most people are with you. Most people want peace. I mean, what would you say your mission is exactly?
That's that. I think it's something like to raise awareness of possibilities,
Oh, great.
to make people aware of what the dangers are, but also what possible solutions there are.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Okay.
What else
And
could you?
that's very
That's
compatible with what you're doing. Here,
yeah.
we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. So tell me more about your particular activities and
Well,
how you, as I didn't use the word producer,
mhm.
but that's a great term for a lot of people, being a producer is a pretty damn good thing to be doing.
Yes,
So
produce.
tell me what you do in this producer role.
Well, I enjoy inspiring people. I enjoy getting people to watch our movie, the world is my country.com. And I feel good about people coming into their, like you said, your calling. I love those stories where people are not diverted by money or whatever. They know where their joy is, and they know where they're supposed to be. And I love when they don't waste time doing stuff just because they need money or whatever. They think they need to do this, or they were told by their parents to do that. But anyway, so what happened to me was I was looking at what is my next passion? What do I want to do? What is my next calling? And it was world peace. And so, how do you do that? Well, a good way to get the word out is through film and media. So I became promoting a film called Captain Milkshake, all about people power. And then I was so fortunate to meet who you're going to be talking to now, the director of The World Is My Country, Arthur Kanegis. And then we, together with other lots of collaboration, amazing editor, Jordan Byrne, and we pulled together this beautiful movie that I keep promote. And so I'm happy about that. I'm excited about our podcast where we have solutionaries every week talking about what you can do. Not every, well, a lot of people come every week, but we have a speaker every month, and we also do other things like action days, and we have discussions.
Tell me more about the content of what you do, because I have to admit it's been about a year at least since I joined in with one of your meetings.
Yes. Oh, so yes, that was beautiful. And yeah, so that's what it is. It's surprising every time the right people come every week. And then we've had some major podcasts with let's see, we collaborate also with Rotary. So there's the megameeting.com you can go to. That's another partner. And we have had a couple podcasts, so Mega Meeting, The World Is My Country Club, People Power Planet podcasts together. And then we had over 500 people join in that time. That was very exciting. Right. So yes, that was all honoring Jimmy Carter and the wonderful work.
Can you get 500 people onto a single, I guess it's a Zoom link that you're using, yes, is that right?
Yes, some of them came on with our link. There's Arthur showing what we've done in the past. And let's see, that little black line is right there, Arthur. I don't know if that's yours or.
Yeah, let me get that out of the way.
Oh, great. So Arthur, and then I should hand it over to Arthur. Arthur, if you want to speak, I actually
who's that picture?
Very sad to say I have to take off, but it was so enjoyable seeing you.
Hold on, don't go away yet. I want to ask who is that guy on that?
That's Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter.
Doesn't look like Jimmy Carter. No.
Really? I don't think. There you go, closer.
Okay.
That's when he got when he received the Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So and again, I'm sorry I have to leave, but thank you so much for letting me speak. And I'd love to hand it over to Arthur.
So just to start while we're on the screen, because we're here, oh, there's the founding mothers. If you go to theworldismycountry.com/club, as you'll see here, we had a mega meeting with the Carter School, and we had over 500 people. We had 84 countries. That's almost half the countries in the world. And it was jointly with this organization that we've helped get going, called the Rotary Districts and Clubs Online International Mega Meeting. So we had this wonderful podcast. You can go ahead and watch the replay right there. You'll hear an amazing statement. Actually, we'll share it. Now we will start off with a brief clip of Jimmy Carter.
For a few minutes now, I want to lay aside my role as leader of one nation and speak to you as a fellow citizen of the world about three difficult issues: the threat of nuclear destruction, our stewardship of the physical resources of our planet, and the preeminence of the basic rights of human beings. It's now been 35 years since the first atomic bomb fell on Hiroshima. The great majority of the world's people cannot remember a time when the nuclear shadow did not hang over the earth. Our minds have adjusted to it, as after a time our eyes adjust to the dark. Yet the risk of a nuclear conflagration has not lessened. It has not happened yet, thank God. But that can give us little comfort, for it only has to happen once. The danger is becoming greater. As the arsenals of the superpowers grow in size and sophistication, and as other governments, perhaps even in the future dozens of governments, acquire these weapons, it may only be a matter of time before madness, desperation, greed, or miscalculation lets loose this terrible force.
An excerpt of his farewell address to the nation, and he said, "Let me step out of my role as the leader of one nation and speak to you as a world citizen." Well, that is so crucial. Right now, inside the nation-state system, there really is no hope. It's hopeless, as you mentioned, and it was kind of inevitable that the nation-state system would lead to this. Albert Einstein, who's often been considered the one of the most brilliant people in history, he warned us. He said, "I believe, with all my heart, I believe that the current system of sovereign nations can only lead to barbarism, war, and inhumanity. Mankind's desire for peace can be realized only by the creation of a way we the people can govern our planet." And he actually pointed to Gary Davis, the subject of our movie, as being a person who grasped the key to whether humanity would disappear by its own hand or continue to exist. So the reason why that's so important is because the incredible superpower that can save our world is the combined will of the people of the world, but it only works if we take on our superpower. Now, what does a superhero do? What's the first thing a superhero dons or does in all the action movies and so on? The superhero is an ordinary person, just Clark Kent or whoever it is, a kid. And then what happens that what do they step into to change that to become a superhero?
He gets into a phone booth or something, doesn't he?
Yeah, they
Clothes.
you put on a cape, you put on a new identity, you choose a new identity. Well, to unleash our superpower, we need to choose a new identity, and that is world citizen. That only by donning the identity of a world citizen do we have a chance to save our world. And let me tell you why. There are three key things that are badly broken. Einstein pointed out the nation-state system, which, it really is only one planet. All the environmental issues, the nuclear issues that determine whether we survive as a species can only be solved if we're citizens of the world. But so on the one hand, we need to step into that larger identity of citizen of the world, but even just as important, even more important, is that we have to realize that it all begins with sovereignty that's inside us, that each of us is the sovereign that gives a piece of our power that enables all those politicians to take these steps that are putting us on a course toward ending humanity. We're the ones who give these corporations the power. We're the ones who give the government the power because we're the source of all that. And the current system that we've created, and humanity is a very inventive system. We can create new systems. The current system doesn't at all bring together the will of the people, because what happens is okay. It used to be in the old days you had to have representatives because they had to go by horse and buggy to a distant city, and they had to help to represent their constituents. Nowadays, as Gary Davis says in our movie, we can all meet in in the same room, the global room. We don't need representatives.
Mhm.
And in fact, Trevor Noah recently had a wonderful podcast about that. He has a program, How to Save the World, and he said Trevor Noah, who used to do the Daily Show, and who's in South Africa. He has a program about saving the world too. I'll send you the link to it. And he did a wonderful program where he says, let's just get rid of all the politicians and all the political systems, and let's develop a system where we're directly collaborating. Now, here's the thing: if you take people and you uh, put them in the same room and you say who's right and who's wrong, you fight it all out. But if you use certain other techniques, you bring people together and you talk about, what is your story? You identify your humanity. Then you identify what is it that you'd like? What kind of vision do you want for your children and your children's children? You start finding all over the world people have a great deal of commonality and a great deal of empathy. There are numerous organizations working across red and blue states, opposite sides of issues. There's some incredible films about Arabs and Israelis getting together. Another one, a fellow called a Free Trip to Egypt, where he went to Trump rallies with a sign, "Free Trip to Egypt," and got people who were supporting Trump to suddenly, to go in the middle of a Muslim family and say, "My God, wow, you're great people. I couldn't believe this." And people, whenever you get people in that personal contact, they come together. Now, we have now an incredible situation of humanity percolating. We have the old systems completely crumbling, breaking down, and we're not going to fix them inside of those. It's like, Einstein said that he said that that you both Einstein and Bucky Fuller basically said the same thing. Einstein said the world will not evolve past its current state of crisis by using the same thinking that created that situation. And Bucky Fuller said you never change things by fighting the existing reality. You have to create a new system, something better that draws people to it, a new model. And that's the key thing that we are working on. How do we invent basically a disruptive app? Gary calls in our film SmartGov. Some app in our phone that, just like this, we could have Zoom meetings, but with people on opposite sides of political issues, and we could have Gary used the symbolism of the geodesic sphere. If you take the traditional organizational chart, the king, the president of the company, whoever's on top, and everybody else is underneath, but you change that into a geodesic sphere, you can have, the president can be on top when it comes to administration, but if say you're in a company, the janitor's on top when it comes to keeping the bathrooms clean. If they're all overflowing and filthy, the whole place is going to shut down. But they can't do their job unless supply is supplying toilet paper and cleansers. So, everybody in the organization is crucial, and everybody's on top of the world as you rotate this different kind of organization chart. And Gary talked about the idea of syntegrity, which is to say we have a synergistic system where instead of just coming up with the kind of this race to the bottom we have now, we find a way to have an interactive app that brings people together from opposite sides of issues, that allows people to solve problems and understand the best practices that will help them and their community. And this interactive app interacting with tons of other small groups like this, can kind of amalgamate the highest and best wisdom of humanity. We can use AI instead of for targeting weapons and destroying humanity, use it to help amalgamate what is the true will of humanity. What is it we really want? And as Melanie was saying at the beginning, you know, people do want peace. They want a better world, even on both sides of political issues. Candidates, run saying they're going to end endless wars. They're going to bring peace, and that's what apply. But then, they get stuck in this power mode. But if we can really go back to the will of the people and really find a way to measure that, I think that's the key that can that by identifying as world citizens and getting away from thinking we can elect representatives who save us, and instead discover our own interactive sovereignty. We need to create a completely new system of how we don't destroy the old system. We don't have to overthrow it. We just create something so powerful that once the will of the people is identified and amalgamated on the global level, all the governments and the politicians and corporations, they're going to run to us, because the way they stay in power is by keeping us divided and separated. Once we find a way to connect together, we are the superpower that can save the world.
All right. I think I like everything you said. In fact, I'm just wondering how close we are in our mental map or the diagram of what that governance is going to look like. I have some interest in how we got to create some kind of structures, and we have to organize and make various things happen. So I'm keen to be engaged with the actual creation of alternative systems of governance, and I love the notion that you're bringing in a cross section of humanity to all share in making decisions. And my hobby horse these days, my own view of one of the best things that we could be working on to move us toward that is the notion of citizens' assemblies. Mm-hmm. And I don't know whether you have come across people who are using that or not, but I actually joined one a year or so ago, and it was just really impressive. It made me realize that you really could use Zoom and run a citizens' assembly for the whole world from people's living rooms. Everybody would, be on their computer the way you and I are now, and we could have a couple of hundred people that would be drawn by a sortition, lottery, by chance, so that they would be representative of their countries and so on. And they could study an issue for a year or so before reaching an opinion and conclusion about what to do about it. And I think that if we did have an organization like that, in fact, many of them have been used for specific issues, and I would love to see one started in a major way to work on climate change. Then I think that the people would really take seriously the conclusions, because I don't think that people going and voting are necessarily very smart. I used to pin every hope on democracy, but I think the kind of democracy we have now is definitely not working. But there's another system where people would discuss things and study things and deliberate together before reaching a conclusion. I think that would be more likely to work. Tell me whether we're on the same track or whether we differ.
I love your idea of citizens' assemblies, and I would add to it. We don't differ. We just add to the conversation, and that is that. I think that we need a global conversation, but that if a few people are chosen by lottery, the rest of us are left out. I think that all of us can be engaged in in bringing I think we need a meritocracy of the highest and best wisdom of each individual, a meritocracy that doesn't appoint certain people or others, but that brings to the top the highest and best wisdom of each person and allows us to do that by, if you have these multiple, if you think of each of these Zoom meetings of people on say the green and the black are two different political, viewpoints, and but they're interactively coming together with their stories and the healing techniques, and they're coming together in one group, and then there's another one of other people coming, another one of other people coming, another one, and then these various groups are being amalgamated into, finally there may be a final citizens assembly that, like you say, could be chosen by lottery, or more likely it could be the merit, that is the people who whose ideas are most appreciated by the others around them, the people that are doing the most to advance the common goals. Humanity is very good at creating the common goals. Humanity knows what it wants. I mean, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which, if you see in our movie, Gary Davis played some role in triggering the final passage, that states unanimously, all the nations of the world at the time came to an agreement on the human rights that we all appreciate and believe for and need for one another. If you look at any of the other UN declarations on the rights of women, on the rights of indigenous people, on climate, you look at the UN development goals, they're beautiful. Humanity knows how to come together to figure out what we want. What happened is we've got these broken political systems for implementing them. That can't do it. I mean, we're begging and we're knocking our heads against the wall, begging and pleading our government leaders to make peace when they can't do it because they're on the wrong civic level. Their loyalty is to the part, not the whole. They stay in power by protecting us against them in a situation of world anarchy. They they're the results of a political system that's a race to the bottom. They're the worst of humanity, not the best of humanity, because uh, you know we are so much more than a vote. I mean, whoever voted, when you vote for somebody, are you expressing all the things that you believe and want for how do you like a better world? No, you're taking, well, okay, this guy's better than that guy. I hate a lot of the things he's saying, but I'm going to vote for him. Nobody's really being satisfied. Nobody's really getting what they want. But if you had this kind of global conversation where people could really start picturing and envisioning and what kind of future do we want? What's it going to look like? And how do we begin to implement things now? This tool has to be more than just an imagineering tool for the future. It has to give people the power to solve problems in their communities, in their societies, in the world. So, for example, when you get on this, when you sign up as a world citizen and you sign into this SmartGov app, taking an agreement that our primary loyalty is to the earth, because if the earth's on fire, if the earth dies, we're all gone. So we need to protect and love the separate identities we have, the indigenous identities, the national pride, the dances, the music, but we have to have something above that. In Europe, they had hundreds of years of war, 2 world wars, 50 million people killed. But once they formed the European Union and the borders began to be taken down within, they were still Germans, they're still French, there's still other things. But instead of having wars, they were taking things to court. I think we need to evolve a new way that we have a kind of people's courts, interactive courts where the application of law is coming together, where we have the Congress is global conversations, the court is the people who have most studied an issue. They've always tried to figure out, how do we appoint the wisest judges? Well, we can elect them, or we can appoint them. None of that's worked. But if you have a system where the people who have studied the law the most, understand the case, where it's kind of a merit-based thing where anybody can get involved in watching a legal case and being involved, but it's sort of the ones that are most learned, most fair, most adjudicated, they have more impact as we come to conclusions on dealing with the issues that affect the whole planet, like the issues that affect whether the human race survives or not, and what are the steps that best allow us to do that. So I think that we could have a team of people. We could put together some of the highest and best thinking of people around the world to inventing a collaborative system, especially with these amazing tools we have now of being able to bring people together around the world and get past the smoke streams of disinformation and misinformation, because we really build into the system a robust way that we can build toward unleashing that superpower, which is the combined will of the people of humanity.
I love it. But I can't quite visualize it. I need more diagrams, maybe.
Yeah, well, we need to do that. We need to do some diagrams. I'd love to have some people collaborating, some people helping us finance it. I'd love to see a movie where we take people into a future where this is the kind of interactive world we're creating. Just as, Star Trek helped people visualize and invent so many things from the smartphone to space travel. So many of the NASA engineers were inspired by Star Trek. I think we need a new series that takes us into envisioning this people-powered planet as we picture here, as we call our podcast. And each week we bring together solutionaries to imagine what are some of the parts of that people-powered planet. How do we do it? And our goal is
How
to
do you find?
create the diagrams and pictures.
Give me some idea of how you go about choosing your agenda. You pick the people that you want to invite as speakers. The audience or the participants come because they like what you're doing, but they must come because they like your choice. Now, I don't have a system for choosing the people to invite to be on my shows. It's sort of, whatever comes up and is handy, or what I happen to think of this morning, but not in any planned way. Do you have an agenda? Be interesting. Maybe we should even think in terms of what kinds of people should we try to invite to our respective forums or talk shows or the World is My Country Club meetings.
Well, that's a perfect question, and we also a lot of it is the spontaneity of discovering. Wow, here's a person that's really on our page wavelength. Let's connect with him.
You can also tell me about some past speakers and what they have in common, and do they share your vision for the most part, or do you have to sort of do a little indoctrination while they're there?
Well, we've had amazing speakers. Now, we were particularly fortunate in this mega meeting with the Carter School because it happened when Jimmy Carter was in the news all over the world, and so we were able to attract over 500 people.
When he had just died, is that it?
Yeah, we actually had it set up with the Carter School months before, and it happened that Carter passed away in, I guess, the week before our podcast or something. So, well, or a week and a half, and so we were able to do a big push and attract over 500 people to it from 84 countries, reaching out largely to the Rotary network of people because we had Rotary International President Stephanie Urchik in the call with us, and because the Carter School has a Carter Rotary collaboration. So that was one of the ways of outreach, of reaching more people. But we also had, in that connection with Rotary, we had another big mega meeting with the UN, the Rotarian ambassador to the COP conferences, Rotary was very involved actually in the original creation of the UN. Many of the members, and
I didn't know that.
At the time, the founder of Rotary said, let me just tell you, because it was really relevant to what we're talking about. He said that here, the years ahead reserve for Rotary a most difficult and arduous task to heal the wounds of a war-ravaged world, to change enemies into friends, to replace armed struggle with goodwill and international peace, This is the superhuman task we must undertake. Well, that's that superhuman task that I was talking about that we can only undertake if we change identities. We can't. We don't have that superpower if we're stuck inside this broken system, because we can lobby till we're blue in the face, and inside the broken system, it's not gonna get fixed. It just isn't. It's like one of our wonderful guests was Barbara Marx Hubbard when she was alive, and she talked about the cocoon that turns into a murky, basically that worm turns into a murky slug, and out of that evolves this beautiful butterfly. And we're sort of in that stage where the old systems are breaking down. We're in that murky mess, and out of that can evolve the butterfly if we can lift our thinking to a higher level, if we can create a higher vision of what we want. But if we're down here in the fight, we're going to fight this, we're going to stop it, we're going to combat it. Well, we're just part of the breakdown, and we're going to lose, because they've got the power and money, and we do have the mass of people. But if we're stuck inside this broken system and divided, we don't have our power. And that's one of the odd things you'll notice, is that some of the same financiers of hate have sponsored hate in various different societies, hating different people. They don't really care who you hate, as long as you hate somebody. You're not getting your power together to they can keep all the power. So the only way we get our power back is to move beyond being divided into hating this group or that group, and coming together as citizens of one world.
Okay. I noticed one thing. So far, you haven't talked about the UN at all. It's as if, or any of the other international organizations that somehow are part of the whole UN governance system, the World Court, the the ICJ and the ICC and the WHO and the all of these outfits that are part of the only thing that we have by way of global governance now, and also a little bit uncomfortable with the enormous leap that you're asking us to make, as if from here to there with no bridge. And I think more, if maybe I'm misrepresenting you, but I think that there are steps that we can take now in reforming and developing alternative systems and improving what we have, so that the system of global governance we have now doesn't necessarily have to be totally junked and superseded by something that was untried and imaginary until we decided to put it in place. Although I'm perfectly, I also quote Buckminster Fuller's notion that you don't try to combat something terrible, but you put an alternative in place and show the world that what you got is better. And I remember thinking about how people in Solidarność did alternative systems to replace the communist institutions of their country. And they were really successful, even including things like making stamps, postage stamps that were Solidarność stamps, and using them. And in fact, the postal workers often honored them and delivered the mail with those stamps and so on. So I think that there's certain steps that we could be taking now, such as I would put a lot of emphasis on the notion of somehow developing means of enforcing international law, because we have international laws. They're not, the system for making them is not as good as maybe we'd like. I'd like a parliamentary assembly at the United Nations that would be really representative of the people. But we do have some international laws that have, in a way, come out of the International Court, ICJ decisions, as well as even customary laws, things that every fool should know is against humanity and so on. So
Well,
I would like to see us pay a little more attention to see some of these intermediate measures that might make what we have a little more workable.
okay, so first of all, I think I did mention that we have, that the UN has been good at creating kind of the treaties that create what is the vision, what we want to do. The problem is that it's not a government. In other words, if each individual nation has sovereignty above it, then it's not a government over the nations. It's just a committee where people can talk and they can make plans, but it's not actually a system of governance because it doesn't actually have enforceable world law, as you mentioned. And in order to in order to create that, I think that if we develop the kind of people's assembly you're talking about, some kind of a massive, large coming together of the people of this planet, and can bring to the top the will. What is, an app that really brings out what is the will of the people? I think that, it would open the doors for the UN to add an additional chamber that actually does represent people, that maybe could be an online, both in person. It could both be online, and then a certain number of people get to go to the actual conference where people come together. And we've had these world political forums kind of. But I do think we need to have bring the people into a global conversation and create these systems. And the current UN, because there's not law above the nations that divide us, is powerless. I mean, yes, the World Court issues a very important injunction that that genocide's being committed, but the parties in it, blithely ignore it because they've got the power and money, and we don't have an accepted system of law above the nations that divide us, and so we're in a perilous situation right now. But the keys for getting to solve it, are known, and but the problem with just counting on the existing government systems to create it is that they are so dysfunctional, as we're seeing, where with this race to the bottom, as I mentioned, and so on, that it's pretty inconceivable that they're going to they're not going to give up their power to a system of governance above the nations that divide us. We, the people, have to take back our power. We have to create that, and then we can create enforcement. Enforcement, there's a notion that enforcement is guns and bombs and military. Those are the weak force. I mean, the biggest empires in the world have fought little tiny countries for decades, and they haven't succeeded. The French Empire against the Vietnamese people in the Vietnam jungle, fought their empire, lost. Then the U.S. Empire fought these jungle people, and they lost. In Afghanistan, this mighty Soviet embassy were fighting these tribesmen. They couldn't beat them. Then the U.S. for 20 years, with every kind of all the money in the world and all the bombing and shelling, and all we did is push people more into the hands of the Taliban, and we didn't defend the rights of women or anything. I mean, so military power is not necessary for enforcing the law. It's just the opposite.
Well, yes, but
There's no such thing as military power. There's another kind of power. But go ahead.
well, I mean, the examples you gave were of guerrilla movements or movements, but they were violent movements. These were wars, civil wars, or insurrections and things. I'm thinking of how can we impose world law, make it enforceable with something less drastic. Let me give the example. Right now, of course, the International Court of was it ICC? Was it International Criminal Court? I believe has indicted, or come close anyway, to indicting both Netanyahu and Putin. Isn't that correct?
Yes,
And
correct.
I believe that they're really that if they leave, they could be legally arrested and brought
Yes,
to The Hague if they
yes,
go out of their country. I don't think they are
yes,
likely to, but nevertheless,
yes.
point is, but the people of Russia are perfectly happy to have Putin, and the people of Israel are not about to do anything to Netanyahu. So they are not going to turn their leaders over for punishment or for to be put on trial in The Hague. What can we do? Well, I think if we ought to have a system, something like this, that if the ICJ or the ICC and two other bodies of the UN, let's say um, the General Assembly, let's say, um, or even some of the ECOSOC agencies, if all three bodies concur that a certain person, leader of a country, has violated international law and is at the moment doing atrocities against another country or another people, and that must be stopped immediately, not just catch him 10 years later and put him on trial then, but must be stopped, then they should issue a statement that the people of Russia and the people of Israel have 10 days in which to replace this government with one that will obey international law. And if they do not within 10 days replace this guy with a law-abiding leader and with representing a government that will conform to international law, then every country in the world will impose extreme sanctions on Russia and Israel. Now, that is a nonviolent solution. We do not have to send in an army to Moscow and to Jerusalem. We just have to impose this kind of rule that the countries they put them in power. Now you get them out of power. You have 10 days to get them out of power and stop the violence and atrocities that your country is perpetrating on the other people. How about that?
Well, I like your way of thinking, and I think that the ICC court judgments should be, in fact, as they are. That people can get arrested, and for African leaders who have violated the law and oppressed their people, they were arrested and they were prosecuted, and it has worked. But the problem is the power balance that makes it very difficult when Netanyahu, well, in this recent meeting with Trump, I mean, they basically said they're going to, pave it over, complete genocide, complete, a step beyond I mean, what Hitler did is first try to get other countries to take the Jews when other countries wouldn't do it. Then he moved to his final solution, which he called euthanizing. He thought that was his, they always put phrases on them to make them. And now we're hearing this ludicrous concept of turning it into a luxury resort building project and getting rid of all the people. It's appalling to me that that people, my grandfather came here to escape some of the oppression and the horrible things that were done to Jews in Lithuania. But it really pains me that people from that background who experienced that are willing to impose that on another people, and the whole thing just gets so crazy on every side because it's all stuck in this old broken system. I mean, I think once we connect people in a more positive, interactive way, we can rise above it, and we can have systems of enforcement that come back to individuals. That when you become a world citizen, for example, you have in your phone an app. When you go to stores, if this particular leader is of a nation is in violation of world law, then any product that's being made there or parts of the product are made, you scan your phone, it says beep, beep, beep. You don't buy that, you buy other products that are there. You apply for jobs, you have an app for world citizens that lets you know to avoid applying to the companies that are world law violators. And when it gets very difficult when it comes to arresting a government leader, especially ones that have power. But again, their whole power lies on the basis of these kind of broken systems, that if we can create a new one that really brings that will the people to the top, it can have incredible power and systems of enforcement that we can invent that move beyond uh, that are more powerful than violence. And I
Excuse
think
me,
you're
but
right. We need a visual picture.
I want to one little quibble before we wind up, because we do have to end this out. But the other thing is, I don't think that you can count on necessarily anything wonderful happening if you bring a bunch of people together and do not have a particular game plan. That is, I think the people of Russia have chosen and so fully support what Putin is doing. Never mind that he's an international criminal. That's okay with them. And right now, Trump is riding high. He's got the American people behind him. So if you had a meeting of these people right now and just said, tell me what you think, you're going to get some pretty stupid, bad
Right.
decisions.
Absolutely.
But you need to bring people together with an agenda of studying an issue and deliberating about these issues over a long period, maybe not too long a period of time, but definitely more than 5 minutes. You don't
Yeah.
just go into the ballot box, to the voting booth and mark your your ballot and think that you're going to get good government, because you
Right.
may not. You
Right.
cannot expect people to be ready to have thought it through and to make good decisions. But in reality, if you bring people together and have them talk and study together for a period of time, it turns out they do, by and large, come up with very sensible policies. And I think that is, in fact, the reasonable argument is they would do a better job of making laws than the elected officials that we send to Congress.
You're absolutely right. I love what you said. And that was one of the key things that Gary Davis said in developing this integrity system, is that it's around topics. You bring people together with a topic. How do we solve a particular problem? We would like to have we'd like to have clean air. In our movie, we have the example where we passed this Clean Air Act. Well, what's going to contribute to it? Okay, how can we have this? How can we have the clean air and still have the production we need so we can do the research? And you take a topic, and as you said, people start coming into convergence, because the mindset shifts from who's right and who's wrong to, oh, okay, I've got another idea. Maybe we could add this, and what about this? And you begin to develop. Well, synergy there's several layers. One layer is I'm right, you're wrong, we fight it out. The other layer is trying to come to a compromise. Okay, I'm for this, you're for this. Okay, we'll come somewhere in the middle, but nobody's really that happy with it. Uh, a consensus is trying to come to a feeling above that. Okay, maybe we can come to a common agreement. That's getting closer. But synergy is even higher than that. That's where, you come with this idea, I come with that idea. And in the interaction, we come up with something amazing, something better, something that none of us even thought of when we first came into the room. We have that tensile strength of the geodesic sphere that creates a stronger, even more powerful coming together. And I think you're absolutely right. We need to develop systems that do that. We need to build on some of the things that people have created already. There are lots of groups. There's Braver Angels and many others that are bringing people together across political divisions. And it happens when we we work with our humanity and with the images, and somehow we have to invent a governing system that taps into that kind of humanity that brings us together instead of one that tears us apart.
It's a deal. I'm all on your side. I think we're pretty close together in the way we think, aren't we? I mean,
Yep,
a little
we are.
difference of how we go about things, but basically, I think everything that you said is compatible with everything that I've been working toward.
Yeah, and now we
Yeah.
just need to find the key people who are going to help provide the financial and the technical expertise to do it. And I was hoping this collaboration with the Carter School could be part of it, but there may be other things we can do. But let's find a way to attract and create and have people working on exactly the kind of dialogue you and I are having here.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This has been not only fun, but kind of energizing. You got me back ready to get back to work.
Excellent. Well, we really love you, Metta, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
My heart to yours. Have a great day and great week, and keep up your energy and your strength.
Bless you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.